You are now in tune with MAMBA Radio.
Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind, on my mind, on my mind, 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 mind. On earth would I live if you were everything I wanted you to be? When I saw what you did, who you were with, got me questioning the things that I believe. So I ask myself, do I let you go, or do I keep you in the frame of my mind? Now I'm growing wise to your sugar-coated lies. Nothing sweet about my misery. I finally found what went wrong. I finally found the wrong in you. I finally found what went wrong. I finally found the wrong in you. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind, on my mind, on my mind, 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 mind. You again, why'd you call? I don't need to hear you crying out my name. Unlike before, when you and I lay eye to eye, now it's time for you to taste the bitter end. So I ask myself, do I let you go, or do I keep you in the frame of my mind? Now I'm growing wise to your sugar-coated lies. Nothing sweet about my misery. I finally found what went wrong. I finally found the wrong in you. I finally found what went wrong. Well, I finally found the wrong in you. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you, don't want you on my mind, on my mind, on my mind, 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 mind.
Predator.
All right, what up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into BM690 Brown Mama Radio. For those of you out there who don't know, my name is Jackson. And coming at you live from Studio 69, the song that you just heard was On My Mind by Georgia Smith and Predator. A great song that I've been getting into a lot lately. And hopefully it starts your Tuesday if you're listening to this on the day that is going up. Tuesday, I know I'm a little late. Usually I get them out on Monday. But I kind of had a busy weekend, worked all weekend long, so a little tired. Had to do, take an extra day to get the facts right for everything I'm going over today. How the LA teams did, how our my fantasy teams did. And I also had a little bit of an audible on how I was going to do today's episode. One of my good friends, who's an LA City firefighter, happened to get back yesterday from or Sunday night, early Monday morning, from one of the fires that's burning out here in Southern California, from the Creek Fire, which is up in the Sylmar area, for those of you who don't know. So I hit him up and wanted to see if he wanted to talk about his experience and how it was dealing with such a devastating thing going on here in the LA area. So after I talk sports, you guys are going to hear the first part of our conversation that we had. I say first part because when we sat down and talked, we talked for a little bit longer than expected. The first part, which you're going to hear in a little bit, is, like I said, strictly our conversation about how he or his experience out there fighting the fires. But the second part, which will be in a later episode this week, probably the Friday episode, is just us shooting the shit. And we had a few beers were in us and stuff like that, so we were just talking a little bit, hadn't seen each other in a while, and just catching up, talking about some, whatever came to our mind. So like I said, that'll be in a later episode. But first, we're gonna get to quickly gonna run through how our LA teams did and how your boys' fantasy teams did. Starting off on a good note with the Chargers, who got the win over the Deadskins, as that's in more than one way makes a lot of sense. They beat them 30-13 over the weekend, and like I said, not much to stay here because the Deadskins have just such a depleted roster. Just one of those seasons for them where they just got they hit the injury bug, and like I said, it's tough to have a season like that for any team. But the Chargers went in there, took care of business, and they are on like a 8-game win streak or something like that, or 7-game win streak. Considering that they started off like 0-3 or 0-4 or whatever it was, just this is an unbelievable turnaround for them. The Chargers really took care of business in a game that they should have, in my opinion. It's just I'm gonna go through some of the stats right here. Phillip Rivers took really had a great game. 18 of 31 for 319 yards, 2 touchdowns. Even got a chance to get, I think, they got Kellen Clemens in to get some garbage time. But Phillip Rivers really got a good, really spread the ball around. Got Keenan Allen just, again, easily comeback player of the year this year. Keenan Allen, with 6 catches and 111 yards, he's got I think 4 games with 100 yards at least receiving this year, considering he blew out his ACL pretty badly last season. But then Tyrell Williams, number 16, for those of you who don't know, 4 catches for 132 yards with a touchdown. So that's, that's always great for, especially if you have him on your fantasy team, which I'm not sure, but for all the DraftKings guys out there who are, finding that guy who just happens to be, just taking a gamble on somebody because his price is low. So Tyrell Williams did great for a lot of guys out there. Hunter Henry, 50 yards, another touchdown. A guy, like I said before, I wish I had him on my team. Rushing the ball, Melvin Gordon, 78 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, 49 yards. Melvin Gordon, same thing with him, just, looking real good, considering he had a knee injury himself coming into the year. People were skeptical on how he would be. And then the defense also just, stepped up, took care of business. Not going to run through every single stat, but they took care of business and they handled it, as well as they should have. So that's the chart. And then, if the offense and defense can keep playing like how they've been playing these last few weeks, they might make some noise in the postseason. And I say might because so far, if you go on the NFL playoff picture things, they're technically on the outside looking in because the Chiefs did beat them in the head-to-head in their first meeting. So that's why this Sunday's game against the Chiefs is huge for them for the playoff picture. If I'm not mistaken, if according to my calculations, if they win, they are both tied at 7-6 right now. If I'm not, let me double check. I believe so. Both tied at 7-6, and if the Chargers can beat the Chiefs this coming Sunday, then I'm pretty sure they'll take over as the AFC West champs right now. And like I said, they can, and then we'll have both LA teams in the playoffs, potentially, which, is, I have to say, pretty damn exciting, considering how, negative I've been and how down I have been on LA football. So yeah, huge game against the Chiefs for the Chargers coming up this Sunday. And speaking of huge games against the Chiefs, the Raiders had a huge game against the Chiefs this past Sunday. However, they came out and laid an egg. They lost 26-15 against the Chiefs, like I said, this past Sunday in a yucky game. I mean, it was just bad all around. I know it's on the road, and in Kansas City is always a tough place to play, but they just looked so bad and just so unfocused and just all over the place. And I mean, that defense just looks terrible right now. And I mean terrible in all caps, bold, italicized, everything. I mean, the defensive line is playing, okay, I guess, and they're playing as hard as they can, with Bruce Irvin, Khalil Mack, and those guys, really trying their best to create pressure. But I mean, that's the secondary especially, and the linebackers are just playing so poorly right now. I mean, Navarro Bowman's doing all right, I'm not gonna lie, but it takes more than just him. And I mean, the secondary is just completely horrible. And like I said, it must have been contagious, because minus a couple plays on offense, that offense looked just as bad yesterday. I mean, Derek Carr couldn't, get anything going. I'm going to pull up his stats right now. I know he had some horrible stats yesterday. He was, 24-41 for 211 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. I know one of them was that crazy, skyrocket ball that went in the air. I know that, but, just bad. Marshawn Lynch, he had, 61 yards, but it was on, I think one 30-yard run or something like that. So, not a whole lot there. Same thing. I know they got Crabtree back, and I know that they really, really miss Coop. I get that. But like I said, the guys needed to step up. They stepped up last week. A little tough, a little harder this week for that to happen. Fumbles and a lot of turnovers, and just not a whole lot of production on the offensive side of things. And yeah, just not a good game. Not a good game, and just what a disappointing season for them. I mean, they're more than likely out of the playoff picture at this point, and I don't know what's up, and I know I mentioned it before in a previous episode, but it just feels like there's just some kind of bad juju going on with this team. Not necessarily juju, but just bad energy. It feels like something's gonna come out at the end of the season, someone from some local beat writer or something like that is going to have this piece where they're saying that, once the season's over, that there was tension or turmoil or division amongst the locker room or in the front office or something. It just feels like that's coming. And I don't know where it's going to come from or whatever, or what's causing it, but that's just my gut feeling on that. And yeah, just what a disappointing season it's been for the Raiders, considering how it was last year. So yeah, I mean, hopefully they can get things going and figure it out. Maybe just finish the season strong. That's all we ask for. Just finish the season strong and give hope for next season. But yeah, moving on to the Rams. Tough game to lose. It was still a great game. They lost, even though they lost 43-35 against the Eagles. If you watch that whole game, tell me that didn't feel like the NFC Championship game. That felt like the actual thing, not just a preview for, but that felt like those guys knew what was at stake. They knew that they had to set the tone, because they're like I said, they're probably opening the game saying we're probably gonna see these guys again. So we got to let them know, who's boss. And ultimately the Eagles came out on top. And like I said, it was a tough loss for the Rams, but I mean, side note, even tougher loss for the Eagles. I said it's a potential NFC Championship game, but it's going to be a lot harder for the Eagles to make it, considering that they lost Carson Wentz. Tore his ACL on that one play, diving in the end zone. And then just to be able for him to gut that shit out and another 3 or 4 plays to get in the end zone or to throw that touchdown pass, and just looked off. He looked off, and it's sad to see, especially considering how well he's playing and how potentially going to get the MVP this season, and this is really going to hurt their chances. And like I said, I hope he comes back strong. And it just sucks for for football in general that we lost 2 great young talented quarterbacks. First in Carson Wentz first in Deshaun Watson. And now with Carson Wentz, and it just sucks overall. But back to the Rams. You just watch that game, and there's nothing else you can take away from it other than the Eagles were just better that on Sunday. That's really it. It was it's not like they made a whole bunch of mistakes. I mean, yeah, there were some penalties that cost them yardage. That were a little iffy. there was that one where they said it was leaping or whatever, and there's another one that was a little iffy and stuff like that. But it's just the Eagles were just better than them that day. I'm just gonna run through the numbers real quick. Todd Gurley ran exceptionally well. 96 yards on 13 carries, 2 touchdowns for him. He also had 39 yards receiving. But Jared Goff didn't play horrible. He was 16 of 26. He threw 2 touchdowns, but only 199 yards. And with 118 of them coming to Cooper Kupp, who SMF&H at me, dropped him the other week from my fantasy team, and I might have to pick him up, going forward. But it's just 199 yards. It's just not going to get it done. And then, like I said, majority of the receiving yards were from Cooper Kupp, and then 39 from Gurley, like I said, 21 from Watkins, 17 from Reynolds, and that's about it, really. They just couldn't get a whole lot of production. And like I said, I tried to say all this stuff, but it's just the Eagles played really well on defense. They also played really well on offense. Obviously putting up a 43 burger, and that's even with Nick Foles coming in there at the towards the end. So like I said, it was a preview of things to come, in my opinion, on how the NFC or for how the top of the NFC is going to look. But like I said, it's going to be a lot tougher without Wentz for the Eagles. And like I said, it's you never want to see injuries happen, but it's definitely going to play to the Rams' favor. Considering that Wentz is out, like I said, he was a potential MVP candidate and stuff like that. And so, who knows? With the Rams top of the NFC West still, especially since the Seahawks lost also. And like I said, if the Chargers can, pull out a W on this coming Sunday, both of our LA teams are in the playoffs, and that's a chance that we could have a Super Bowl between the LA Rams and the LA Chargers. And imagine that. Just imagine that for a moment. That'd be something else. That'd be something, really, wouldn't it? But yeah, speaking of 2 LA teams, and the theme of twos is kind of going on right here, or a lot of the theme of 2 happens to be in play a lot here. So 2 LA teams, not just in football but in basketball. The 2 LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers, are both on 2-game win streaks. I'll keep this one short and simple. They didn't have a whole lot of games going on for the Lakers and the Clippers this weekend. Lakers got the win over the Hornets on Saturday. Just a good win. Good win. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't like some crazy game like the Sixers game was before it. But good win for the Lakers on the road over the Hornets. They're going to be in New York tonight, I believe, against the Knicks. So that'll be a good game to watch, seeing how they do against the Zinger and those guys. But with the Clippers, their 2-game win streak is a little bit more impressive to me. They got theirs over the Wizards and the Raptors, and I know, they're both over teams who are easily better than them, and arguably they should have lost these games. But especially with all the injuries and all that stuff. But they found a way to win both these games. Maybe I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe they found a way to rally together and all that, to rally the troops and all that. Trying to band together. Maybe they did that, found a way to get some wins. Maybe it could have been that the Wizards and the Raptors, considering both games were in LA. Hit that LA nightlife a little too hard the nights before. We've seen that happen before with teams, when they come out to LA. But hey, maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. Either way, like I said, the Clippers got themselves a little 2-game win streak too. If I'm not mistaken, their next game is tomorrow on Wednesday. Let's see if they can keep it going. And it doesn't help that I think Gallo's out now too with another injury, and it looked like Montrezl Harrell got injured. And like I said, injury bug just keeps rolling for the Clippers. And like I said, hopefully they can keep things together and keep it rolling. And speaking of keeping it rolling, I'm not quickly going to knock out my fantasy football again. Just a refresher, I am in 2 leagues. I got my Paul's Players, which is my family league, and my Fantasy League, which is my friends league. With the Fantasy League, since there's nothing at stake here, I got the win. Doesn't matter though, because the only thing that matters is that I'm still not in last place, so that's no Sacco for me. My MVP was Gurley, Todd Gurley. Really, Like I said, he gave me 28.5 points. Just a, all around great game for Todd Gurley. Excuse me. And my LVP for this one happened to be David Njoku, who had a great game the week before. I still need a tight end in this league. Or excuse me, that's the other one. Mike Evans again. Excuse me. Mike Evans again over Charles Clay. Even though for me, Charles Clay gave me less points, but Charles Clay had to play in that crazy-ass blizzard snow game. So I'm cutting him some slack. However, I'm not going to cut Evans as much slack. He's getting my LVP for this week, even though he's got himself quite the situation down in Tampa Bay. I don't know what's going on there. We'll have to wait and see about that. But that's how the Fantasy League went. And then for my Paul's Players, which is my family league, I barely squeaked out the W. But hey, at the end of the day, a win is a win. Moved up into second place heading into our playoffs. So like I said, our playoffs start this week for that league. Let's see. I said second place heading into that one. My MVP for this week was Derek Carr somehow, even though he didn't play that well IRL. That's just the way it goes sometimes in fantasy. Your real life players don't do so well, but somehow get you some wins or whatever, end up that way. He only gave me 14 points, which is kind of let you know how my game went. But a special shout out to Jared Goff, who would have been my MVP if I started him, because he gave me 18 points. And that's, like I said, let you know how my team did. But hey, like I said, a win's a win. So I'll take them any way I can get them. And then my LVP for this one is David Njoku this time, like I said. Like I said, I'm still searching for a tight end. And he played well last week. Tried to pick him up and see if he can, recapture that flame against this time against the Packers. Didn't work out so well for me this time, but it's all right. Like I said, I'm still on the hunt, so I'll get it down. And so that's how my football went. Basketball, again, 2 leagues for basketball as well. Fantasy with the same group of friends, and then the NBA. Like, I don't know what that means, but I'm in the NBA. So starting with the fantasy. Got the W. And then, oh, shit, I went 4-0 this week. I didn't realize that. So 4-0 for your boy. Got the W last week. I'm moving myself back. Starting strong. Fell off pretty hard, but moving my way back up into 6th place now. My MVPs, Clay, doing well for me. Filling up that stat sheet with points, assists, rebounds, and then threes as well. Gave me a nice good amount of threes for my from fantasy. And then also Karl Anthony Towns just stuffing the stat sheet for me as well. So shout out to him. But my number one pick for MVP, other than myself, I want to give it to myself for such a great pickup. But E'Twaun Moore, shout out to E'Twaun Moore for me, man. I mean, I picked him up because right after Patrick Beverley was announced that he was done for the season. And all Patrick Beverley's done in the last few games is just tear that shit up, man. He, as soon as I got him, he dropped 27. And then just, playing well, good field goal percentage, good 3-point percentage, good points. And then last night on Monday, career high, 36 points, baby. Let's go on 75% shooting. Thank you very much, E'Twaun Moore. And thank you very much, me, going with my gut. It was either between E'Twaun Moore and I don't even remember who else, but I'm glad I went with my gut with E'Twaun Moore. So yeah, he's my MVP for last week. LVP, sorry, Ball, but Lonzo, I gotta give him the LVP again. And it's nothing against him. I mean, he's just not stuffing the sheets the way he should be. Pause. And his field goal percentage is going up, that's for sure. And then he's just another example of someone who is affecting the game. He's better IRL than he is in fantasy. I know it was the other way around when I mentioned it, but yeah, his effectiveness is more stuff that doesn't show up in a stat sheet. So like I said, even though he's an LVP for my fantasy stuff, he's not an LVP IRL. Keep fighting the good fight, Zoe. You're doing well out there. You keep growing. And yeah, that's how my fantasy team did, and then how my NBA team did. With this W, Daddy's back in first place. That's right. First place again. My MVP, LeBron James, like always, just like I said it before, he's a shoo-in every single time. So LeBron James always. Shout out to DeMar DeRozan, who's another one of the co-MVPs this week. He doing well. He gave me a whole bunch of points. He just really filled it up, man. Like 80 plus points, 20 plus rebounds, 30 plus assists throughout the week on 45% shooting. But my number one MVP, my main man this week, or this past week, is Dame Dollar. Dame Dollar just stuffing the stats. This is his last 4 games over the past week or so. He gave me 29, 30, 35, and a 39 last night in his hometown in Oaktown. Dropped 39 on the Warriors. I mean, they lost, but he helped bring them back, almost all the way back, in matter of fact. And, Dame Dollar just doing work. Everyone knows how good Dame Dollar is. So, but like I said, just shout out to Dame, my MVP for my NBA. And then my LVP again, Lonzo Ball, like I mentioned before. He's the LVP, but like I said, it'll come. It'll come with time. He'll be fine. You know me, took a little bit longer than I expected running through my stuff, but hey, I mean, I had to touch on all the stuff I wanted to touch on. Pause. So first, we're gonna take a break to listen to a song before we get to my first part of the interview, talking about the fires with my good friend Jordan Cajiao, LA City firefighter. Like I said, first you guys gonna hear a song, and that song right now is Warped Tour by Lil Aaron.
I'm a scene kid, might go fuck a scene girl. Why you acting mean, kid? Don't make me pull a mean girls. Nah, I swear I feel like a millionaire. My new bitch look like the millionaires. I'm Ernie ballin' all summer, iced out all green Hummer. I got bands like a warped tour. I got everything I work for. Stop doing things just to work more. Now I got bands like a warped tour. 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 Yeah.
All right, again, that was Warped Tour by Lil Aaron, and shout out to Lil Aaron for that fire ass Paramore sample. But without further ado, here is the first part of my sit down interview conversation, however you want to call it, with my good friend and LA City firefighter Jordan Cajiao. All right, everybody. So now I'm joined with an old friend of mine, good friend of mine, and a real American hero, LA City firefighter Jordan Cajiao. What's going on, my man?
I wouldn't call myself a hero, but what's going on, man?
Yes, you are. Not only are you a hero to me, but like I said, you're a good friend. And like I said, before we get into what we want to talk about, just want to check on you. How you been, man?
I've been good. Just got in just last night from the creek fire.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to touch on. So, like I said, you've been there for, what, 5 days, you said?
Yeah, 5 days.
5 days. And then before we get into the details and all that stuff, because like I said, I touched on it in the last episode or something like that, where, I talked about the firefighters and the first responders all working on all the different fires here in the Southern California area. And, people see it on the news, they see it on the internet, they see pictures and videos and stuff like that. And, it's kind of just like they just see it from afar, but they don't get a full kind of. They rarely get a chance to hear what it's like, from someone who's like there, or who's really experienced it down there in the trenches and all that stuff. Actually, getting their hands dirty, doing the actual work. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. And so like I said, before I get into the details, like I said, just let me know how it was, like kind of briefly from your firsthand experience.
You know what? I mean, first of all, as a firefighter, we always want to be out there helping people. We always want to be fighting fires, but we don't want to be fighting fires at the expense of other people. Mm-hmm. So, people losing houses, losing property, any valuables or anything like that, my heart goes out to them. But I came out on Wednesday, so I missed the majority of the firefight. The fire broke out, early Tuesday morning. Mm-hmm. I think about like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, something like that.
So I got out there Wednesday, probably afternoon, and by then it was just what we like to call mop up, which is essentially like our overhaul phase. Going through neighborhoods, going through the hills, making sure that any hot spots are taken care of. So hot spots are anything smoking, or it could actually even be active fire. So when the residents move back into their homes, they're not calling 911 being like, hey, something's still smoking outside. It's a high tension situation. They just had to be evacuated. They see fire rolling down the hill straight towards them. So, seeing anything smoking might trigger something for them, and they just want to make sure that their house is safe, or, their neighbors are safe. We lost 60 structures in that fire, and our main focus is protecting lives and property. Luckily, we had no lives lost in the creek fire, but 60 structures lost. That's always a touching point. We always afterwards fires we do lessons learned. How to even if the house is a complete loss, how we possibly could have saved even families' pictures, or just something like that. Something the family can never get back. They can always buy a new TV or a new bed, but their picture of their newborn, they might never get that back. Exactly. So, I was there, Wednesday, and I got released yesterday, Sunday night. But yeah, just seeing the resiliency of the people. We're helping people move in. People came back. I mean, they had the cars loaded, helping them just move stuff in. People were really thankful that their houses were still there. Even if they were slightly damaged, they didn't care. They were just happy to see their house still there. And then, some people, their houses were, completely lost, but they came, they went through the rubble. We helped them go through the rubble, just finding anything. Saw a lot of love of the citizens, a lot of donations, whether it be cookies or water. We actually had a couple with their son that they all three survived the Route 91 massacre in Las Vegas. So that was their random act of kindness. Nice. They wanted to make sure that us, as being first responders, weren't ignored. Because sometimes I don't hold anything against them. A lot of people, they see us driving around after a big fire. They might have lost homes. A lot of people are angry. They don't know what to do with their emotions. They're sitting there thinking, hey, you should have been there to help my house. But I hold nothing against them. I would be the same way. With that anger, with that grief of losing your house, you have to funnel it somewhere. So we're there just to help the people, and just seeing the love that Silmar and Sunland and Pacoima all gave us. It was really eye-opening to see that no matter what devastation they saw, they were going to bounce back.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, like I said, it's always tough when that happens, and I completely get it. Because for those of you who don't know, me and Jordan, we used to work together on the ambulance and stuff like that, way back in the day. So we know what that's all about. People, I don't want to say take for granted, you know what I mean, the work and stuff like that we do, but it does happen sometimes where I said, we completely get it. It's a high stress and emotional situation, so we completely get it. But like I said, it's always good to hear that when the community comes together. About how when you came back yesterday, about how much of it has been contained, I guess. I'm just going to touch on some of the like the kind of like the big points that some people are always like, the word like how much is contained or knocked down or taken care of and all that stuff.
Yeah,
we'll get kind of the detailed stuff a little later.
So, just letting everyone know out there, what we mean by contained, it does not mean the fire is out.
Exactly.
What we have is, draw a straight line, and that's the fire line. So what we want to do is we want to make a scratch line around that fire. So we want to take away all the possible fuel, whether that be brush, trees, shrubbery, whatever, and we want to scratch that line out so the fire will burn up to a certain point, and it's just like throwing a wood in the fire. If it has nothing else to burn, it's going to burn and it's going to burn itself out. So when we say 20% contained or 95% contained, that's the amount of scratch line we have around the fire. So when we left yesterday night, it was at about 90 to 95% contained, with no possible flare-up. So it was burning into the Angeles Forest, and we were just handling that with airdrops. So whether it be our sky crane dropping water on it or anything like that, we had units on scene just checking for any flare-ups. We had a high wind advisory. The wind luckily wasn't as high as the advisory was. When I first got there on Wednesday, the wind gusts were possibly being up to 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's
horrible for a brush fire, because that's just going to blow embers, and that could start another brush fire anywhere else that we don't want to see. But luckily, the wind stayed down about 15 to 20 miles an hour, manageable. We were able to handle it. We had a lot of outside agencies handling as well with us. So we had, companies from up north. The companies I saw, we had San Francisco Fire, we had Merced, we had Boulder, Colorado, we had Butte. Just agencies, even Cal Fire. Cal Fire ended up running it because after a certain amount of period, Cal Fire will take over because then it'll become a federal, a federal situation. But the way we all handled it, the coordination with all the strike teams and everything, it was just, it was picture perfect. Of course, everyone was trying to get home to their families, but obviously we want to make sure that people had their homes to get to, and the reassurance that nothing was going to happen to their homes when they got there.
Nice. That was going to be one of my later points, but I was going to say how many people all together worked. So I said that's good that you saw, how many other outside agencies, because like I said, that's always most citizens hear you hear all this outside help coming from as far as San Francisco, even Boulder, Colorado, that's way out there, and then for them to just take their their time and resources to help us out, that's like I said, big shout out to those guys, big thanks to them. And then let me see anything else like that. But all right, now we're getting in not the nitty gritty, but so walk us through, I guess, when you get to work. First off, which station are you out of, and for all the people out there, so that they know, what. I guess how do they pick the people to go fight the fire? You know what I mean?
It's all a crapshoot.
Okay.
I'm from Fire Station 9 down in Skid Row. And we got sent to the brush fire. You're thinking downtown LA, getting sent out to the Sylmar fire. It's all about the resources you have and what's available. So we do strike teams, which are 5 engines. So in our strike team, we had obviously us, Engine 9. We had Engine 201. We had Engine 229. We had Engine 35. And then... what was the other engine we had? We had, I think it was 221, all with us. So we responded out, and like I said, I wasn't there the first night. First night or the first day, 4 a.m. They worked their asses off. From 4:03 in the morning till I think the last thing they did was at 3 a.m.
The next day?
The next day. Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
They worked and worked. They came in and straight said, we're making a stand here and we're doing structure protection. They ran into some troubles with some water pressure and some water, so that helped. That made them face some challenges. But I mean, with what they faced and what I heard from everyone, I mean, there's not a better job they could have done.
Nice.
But yeah, like I said, as far as deciding units and stuff, it's especially when it's within our city like it was, they're just grabbing units and saying, hey, you're going here because we need you.
Nice.
And I say luckily with just the thought of I want that experience that we got selected, but not luckily like, oh, you know, people lost their houses or any property damage, but I got the chance to go out there and serve my community the way I want to serve them.
Nice. And like I said, yeah, like you might hear us say some stuff like that, like I might say something like, oh, nice, and oh, like he said, luckily, like for people out there who don't have like experience, either whether it's like, you know, working in like the medical field or like I said, as like a first responder or, you know, public service, like a police officer, firefighter, or anything like that, paramedics, like I said, like, because it's never cool when people, you know, go through any kind of tragedy, whether it be, you know, family issues or loss of property, like they lose their home or anything. But like I said, that's the job we chose to take. And so, you know, like I said, it's always good. It's hard to say a good experience, but like I said, the only way to, you know, to get better and to learn is like actually getting out there and doing it. And unfortunately, that comes at the expense of, you know, the public having an issue like this, whether it be the fires or anything else like that. But yeah, so you get there Wednesday, and then so once you guys get the call and you kind of like figure it all out and everything, and you get there, once you get into the Sylmar area where the fire is at, like how do they decide who goes where, who does what, and you know, kind of stuff like that, kind of just like how do they decide the plan of attack? Okay,
so when I got on Wednesday, though, we were pretty much winding down our operation for that day. So, you know, we pulled in, we met with our battalion chief. So our strike teams are led by a battalion chief. So, you know, he gave us a debriefing saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. Since the units that morning were working, they worked for technically almost, they do a 24-hour shift. They were on the front lines for 24 hours, no sleep.
Yeah.
So I came in on Wednesday, you know, I was amped, ready to go. You know, I wanted to help people, but I got sent in on a time where we're on a 24-hour down period. So thankfully to Cal Fire, we actually, our whole strike team got a hotel. So a lot of the guys there, you know, a hotel means a lot of things. It's, you know, you're on the front lines, you know, you're in the cold, in the wind, in fighting fires, you know, you're dirty, you're muddy, you're just beat. Sitting there hearing the words, we got a hotel. It could be the best 5-star hotel, or it could be the Bates Motel. We don't care. It's a shower and a somewhat comfortable bed. And I came in and 2 guys on my team stayed, and we left them alone. We're like, you guys need your rest. So, you know, me and my engineer, we went out, we checked the rig, we wiped it down, we cleaned everything up, make sure it was ready to go for the next morning.
Nice.
While those guys slept, because they had 24 hours of literal straight firefighting, running around trying to save homes. So then we woke up Thursday morning at 5 in the morning. Briefing was going to be at 7:30 at base camp, which was at Hanson Dam. So we drove in. We got breakfast. Cal Fire, again, of course, always treating us very well. Gave us breakfast, you know, very nutritious. Gave us a sack lunch.
Nice.
So, you know, once you got a sack lunch, you know you're going to be out on the lines. Yeah, no, but it's fine. You know, you need the sack lunch. But went out, and so during briefing, we had numerous agencies. You know, we had the National Forest Service. We had the Weather Service. I mean, I don't even know the Weather Service name, but we had the Weather Service. We had Cal Fire. I mean, we had everyone. You know, we had divisions, obviously. So, you know, We had Division Alpha, Division Bravo, Division Charlie, Division Delta. Our LFD strike team was given Division Delta. So, they talk about, they're talking about with the Angeles Force, the condors, the California condors are native to that area. That's their roosting area and stuff. So what they wanted to make sure was we have our sack lunches. We're not tossing wrappers or anything out there. Always be conscientious of that. I mean, their habitat's being destroyed. We don't want to cause any more trouble, obviously. The weather, they wanted to make sure that we knew, like, hey, possible 40-mile-an-hour gusts. Just letting you guys know. Cal Fire basically just giving us, I mean, we made a joke about it. Just that, it's not a joke, but it was search and destroy. It was, we're going out there, we're getting dirty, we're getting muddy, we're finding those hot spots, and we're putting those out. Search and destroy, we're putting those out. We call a successful mop-up is half in the green and half in the black. So for people that don't know, the black is the stuff that's already burned. So there's no possible chance of it being reburned. But we want to make sure that we wet that all down, and as well as the green along the line. Because, I stepped in a pile of dirt that was burning for 3 days, and the heat I felt off of it. Yeah, you wouldn't expect to feel that.
It's like you're just stepping in dirt.
Oh yeah. It's burning from underneath. So we're sitting there with shovels, with whatever, digging up whatever we can find and just hosing it down. We're turning the mountainside into a mud pile, just to make sure that nothing's going to kick up. If the winds kick up, it's not kicking an ember and landing on a roof and starting a structure fire that someone doesn't need. Exactly. But so Thursday we did that. Another 24-hour period. So start at 6:30 in the morning. We end at 6:30 in the morning. So no sleep. Checking out. We're at nighttime. We're on night operations. We're looking for what we call cat eyes. You look out in the hills or anything, and you see something glowing, which is something on fire, but it just looks like cat eyes. So we're checking for that. Luckily, didn't find anything like that. So we had, we parked our engine. Every once in a while we went out and checked, but for the most part, we, laid low. Talked to some civilians, still driving home, asking questions. We're more than happy to help them for asking questions. But woke up, and then Thursday, it was we have our mandatory 24 hours off since we're on 24 hours. So it's basically like every unit changes. So
kind of like back and forth, like tagging each other in and out.
Yeah, exactly. So. Same thing, went to base camp, had breakfast, got our assignments. Our assignment was 24 hours off. So went to our local LFD fire station. Big ups to Fire Station 77. Thank you guys for hosting us. But, got a shower in, got some food in, cleaned everything up, got some laundry, and laundry's big. I was in the same chones and socks from the night before, just sweating. But, that was pretty much it. Went back to base camp, set everything up and got ready for the next day. And it was just, a repeat. Friday we got demoted. I don't say demoted, but 12-hour operation.
Gotcha.
So we got our 12-hour operation and doing the same thing. We're talking to citizens. We want to make sure they're okay. We're helping whatever way we can. We're not going to sit there and be like, oh, they're moving in, or, they're moving out, and then, their house is half burned, they're moving. We're there helping them. I don't want them doing that by themselves. So we did that. Same thing, putting out hot spots and everything, mopping up. Saturday was the same thing. We went out, made sure everyone was good. Nice. And then Sunday, the same thing. Went to a couple ranches, make sure they're all okay. They all had their horses in check and everything.
Because that shit was sad. That's everyone was talking about the ones down in was Riverside too. They were on San Diego area. They're like, just let these horses go, and it's like that's fucking
I mean,
heartbreaking, man.
essentially that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of our guys just had to cut gates open and just let the horses out, because if we didn't let the horses out, they're
just,
jumping out
yeah.
or they're burning. So, helping people, they were constantly bringing their horses in. They found them by the brands, or people called them, neighbors, or whatever. But went out, put out a couple of newer piles, just because the hay, and all that stuff. So just digging through there, putting it out, and then the hardest part was sitting there on Sunday, knowing that we're gonna get sent home on in the afternoon, and we could see the loom up. I mean, what people don't know about loom up is what we use as a term as seeing the smoke, and we saw the smoke from the Thomas fire, and we're sitting there going like, send us.
Yeah.
But since it's out of our city, we can't do that. We already had an LAFD strike team out there, and I've talked to a couple guys. I have a classmate out there that's there, and I mean, they're trying their best. They're kicking ass out there, and I mean, that Thomas fire is a whole nother beast.
Yeah,
I mean, it's at almost 300,000 acres.
And then that was crazy. That's the fourth biggest fire in California history. I'm like, what's 1 through 3? So
yeah,
but even still, like I said, it's bad.
Yeah.
But then, so I guess since you came back and you said it's about like 90% contained or something like that, and the 90%, what's left to be done? I guess going forward, for whether it's like maybe you guys sending anyone else out there, or if it's just the people that are, or the fire department or whoever else is there still doing work, like what's left to be done?
No, okay, so in LAFD we have what we call our brush patrols. So our brush patrols are little Ford trucks that are equipped with a little pump, so they have their own water source. But they are more maneuverable than our engines are. So, we can't go up little dirt roads or go off road like these brush patrols can. So we assembled a strike team of brush patrol, and it's just, they're doing the same thing we were doing mop up. I mean, we did the good majority of it. So now it's, so we have the strike team of brush patrol that last day, Sunday. They were saying Monday, which is today.
Yeah.
Sorry, my days are all messed up. But they were saying Monday that they were going to go out and do the same thing we were doing. Drive around the area, make sure everything's good. And then at night, they were going to go back to the local station. So 77s, 91s, 24s. They're going to all board there. And then at night, if they ever got a call of, reported smoke or a brush incident or anything like that, they were going to deploy out of there. So, it's still an LAFD fire, Los Angeles City fire. Even though it's burning in the Angeles Forest, we're all handling it. But, I mean, the way we handled it, the resources now, I mean, we're cutting way back. I mean, obviously we want to cut back so to send more to the Thomas fire. I mean, even down in Lilac now with that fire burning, I don't know what that containment is, but I mean, it's been the worst fire season ever this year.
I was about to say it's
ever.
Pretty
I
intense.
mean, people sit there and go, "Oh, it's because of the drought. It's because of this." It's a combination of all.
Yeah.
I mean, last winter we had rain. Had a lot of rain, which obviously is good for us, but that produces a lot of vegetation. And then now the summer came and the winter came. We're not getting any more rain. That's all drying out, and that's just causing the bad. Just bad fire season.
Literally more fuel to the fire.
I mean, it's beyond more fuel than a fire.
But yeah, trying to think. Oh, I guess not for like the fire nerds, but like firefighter, other guys out there. I guess what special like equipment and stuff like that did you guys have on deck that they brought out there? Like I said, just kind of. Just like so you can talk to the firefighters, like, oh, we use this, we use that, we did this kind of thing, and you know what I mean. Like that were other guys out there if they're interested. What specifics that you guys use?
If you have any brush guys listening, we use none of that stuff.
Oh,
I mean, we were strike spray. We had the Pulaskis, we had the Rhinos set up. pretty much what we used was a hose line and shovels.
Nice.
I mean, you listen, if you had guys on the brush, I mean, they can comment on this later or, make comments. That's pretty much, you can put any brush fire out with a shovel if it's not going like how the Thomas fire's going. Pulaski chainsaw and a shovel, you can handle it.
Nice.
I mean, it's like with anything, you have the fire. I guess now it's the tetrahedron.
The tetrahedron.
Yeah. So you have the fuel, the heat, oxygen, and the chemical reaction. Remove any of those, and you'll put the fire out. So, I mean, scratch line, you remove the fuel. Throw dirt on it, you're removing the oxygen. Put water on it, you're removing the heat. So, I mean, shit. These hotshot crews and these brush guys, I mean, they'll run circles around me in brush. I mean, we have enough brush training to be able to do enough, but I mean, these guys are built for this. I mean, I saw guys in base camp that, I mean, you're just sitting there, I mean, they're just covered in dirt, and they're just, you just know that they worked their asses off the day before, and they're ready to work again. I mean, my cousin is an LA County brush guy, and I think he might still be at the Creek Fire right now cleaning up, and then he might be going out to the Ventura Fire, the Lilac Fire. I mean, that guy busted his ass, and I mean, that's what the guys sign up for, and it's a job most people don't sign up for.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I mean, can't even imagine, man. But but yeah, as far as like you, how are you feeling after it? Just like I guess like not just your body, but how do you feel like after experiencing something like that?
I mean, if you can't tell by my voice already, it's a lot of ash, a lot of breathing in. The winds were rough, but I mean, I don't have a family. I mean, I do have a family, but I mean, we had older guys. Wives were calling them constantly, like, "Hey, when are you coming home?" We had kids calling constantly, and I just feel for them. I mean, because I see the guys, they wanted to stay and they wanted to help, but their families, just kept calling and calling, and that was rough. I mean, I have my beautiful girlfriend, and even she, was sitting there going like, "Hey, when are you coming home?" And I'm trying to tell her, like, I'll be home. Don't worry. Obviously, it's not a great feeling when you send a loved one, when you watch on the news and they're telling how out of control this is. I mean, that's sending anyone. I mean, if your significant other or your spouse works down the street and then they just say like how some madman's running down the street, right down the street where they work, you're like, I don't want you to work, but it's what they signed up for, and I feel for all of them. But like I said before, just I don't always want to cuss, but the goddamn resiliency of the neighborhood. I mean, neighbors literally pulling together, helping another neighbor. I mean, there'll be a house standing with no damage, and then a house right next door burnt to the ground. I mean, that's the way brush fires go. And we're there to try to help, but we can't help everyone. And that's when the citizens all come together and they're just putting care packages together, just even helping pick through the rubble. I mean, it's insane. I mean, and these people that lost everything, I mean, I don't think I can be as strong as them while coming home and seeing that everything is gone, and they're just, it's going to be okay. We'll get a house. We'll do this. We'll do that. I mean, I don't interview me on the news because I'd probably be crying my eyes out. But these people are just so strong. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the same thing I noticed too. Just like I said, it's always kind of one of those things where like, you see it from afar, like I was saying, and then it's like, oh, I would do this, I would do that. But like once it really happens to you, it's like, it's just like, when am I going to wake up from this bad dream, or, like this can't be real. But, that's another thing. You see it on the news, you see it on TV, or you read about stuff. And, like I said, as horrible as it makes you feel, it's also super inspirational. Cause like you said, you see, how they say they're going to bounce back, and then hopefully it'll give hope to the people where the fires are still going. Hopefully it'll give them hope and make them feel like, look, if they can get through it, we can get through it. And
no, sorry to interrupt, but that actually reminds me of a story. When we're out there, we walked by a house, brand new house. I mean, built probably in the last 2 years. Obviously you just have a big brush fire. You see a bunch of firefighters walking around in your backyard. You're going to come out and check, what's going on. This nice woman comes out, starts talking to us. She said, I wasn't on the job then, but, she said a couple years ago, the last fire that went through Silmar burned her house down right where she's still living. And she said, I'm staying here, and built a new house.
Damn.
And then the fires came through, and her son said, we're not leaving, and literally stayed and helped us out and fought the fires. Nice. That's another thing that people don't understand is, if you got an evacuation, obviously get out. But if you're not going to leave, you can help us out just with a garden hose. Obviously, if the fire's going to overrun you, please get out, because that's going to cause a rescue situation for us, and that's going to put us in danger and yourself in danger, and then we're going to lose more homes. But if you are out in your backyard and you see something your grass start going off, put your hose on it. That could easily save, because we're saving your neighbor's house, or we're working on something else. But as far as, even before you evacuate, wet your house down. I mean, everyone does it. Also, stay up on your brush clearance. We had a lot of houses that had a lot of pine needles in the backyard. Just, sweep those up. Clear your gutters. Just clear your gutter. Clear your storm drains. And then your house would be 1,000% safer. That's just my 2 cents, because I saw a lot of houses lost that way, and I saw a lot of houses that got lucky. And that's it.
That was going to be kind of one of my other things I want to get on to later was, I guess what are some of the tips and, some advice you could give to, people who, not necessarily live in like specifically those areas, but people who, I guess just to keep your house fire safe, I guess, and like I said, this is a very extreme case, but like I said, just that a little goes a long way for a lot of things, especially if you live, in that area or in an area that's really hot. Like even, like I said, like Silmar is, not that far away from, like an area like the Valley and like just other, like, where a lot of homes are, so like I said, what are some tips you can give to people for like keeping your house fire ready and safe? As safe as it can be.
You know what? It's being perfectly honest, there's nothing you can do. I mean, when something like this happens, it's pretty much just you roll the dice. But I mean, you can take measures to help. Like I said, clear your storm drains, clear any brush clearance. If you have a lot of dry brush around you, like in your backyard, clear that out. Always just be aware of the weather. Just be aware of the weather. I mean, obviously, we're not sponsored by anyone, but, if you're smoking, don't throw your cigarette butts while you're driving by a bunch of brush. That's one of the biggest causes. It's just, you can prepare and prepare and prepare. It's like preparing for an earthquake. You have your earthquake pack, you have your water, your sleeping bags, your MREs, and the earthquake comes and the roof collapses where your earthquake pack is. Shit, what am I going to do? It's like that. Like, you can prepare. It's just when the time comes, they said, repeat it over and over. Ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. All right, fire's coming. You get ready. Pack up everything you need to go. Set. Fucking, you're throwing everything in your car. Go. I mean, how more simple is that? You go. You just leave. And trust now, I mean, with us, with our lessons learned, and we saw how the Skirball fire went with all the higher income homes in Bel Air, we're going in now we're going to try to put the fire out, but at a certain point we have to not put the fire out because we're not dressed in our equipment to fight a structure fire. You know, we don't have our breather on, we don't have our mask on. We are literally just in Nomex clothes, lightweight so we don't overheat, and we're fighting the brush fire. And if your house goes up, we're coming in trying to save what you need. Family portraits, paperwork, you know, anything like that. Just trying to make it so if you come home, there's something to come home to. But other than that, just the acronym Ready, Set, Go is pretty much the only thing I can tell you, because there's no telling what can happen. It could be a simple backyard fire that burns an acre, or it could be the Thomas fire that's still going right now.
Yeah, damn. But like I said, I mean, you know, I guess the main thing was, I guess, like, I was trying to get, it's just, like, no one, it's hard to prepare for that kind of stuff, but also just as citizens and as, like, homeowners or community members, it's our responsibility, too, to, like, you know, be conscious of this stuff. Because a lot of times, like I said, people always think, well, it'll never happen to me, and then it happens to you and you're unprepared and stuff. So that's why I was trying to just kind of really get more people, like, kind of in the mindset of, like, look, like, hey, you gotta stay ready so enough to get ready, as they say and stuff. But so like I said, so the creek fire, like I said, is pretty much, you know, hopefully pretty much taken care of. What are the chances of you guys in LA City sending anyone else out to these other fires?
It all depends. I mean, like I said, we already have a strike team at the Thomas Fire. At this point now, I mean, with such a high fire index, burn index we have, so in the department we have a rating. So with the red flag warning and the humidity, how it's been so low, we have a rating. And I think on Thursday, it was the highest rating it's ever been, was at 296.
English, please.
English, I mean, it's basically in simple English, there's going to be a fire, there's going to be a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the perfect conditions. I mean, it's ideal for another big fire to happen. I mean, obviously you saw Lilac Fire started. I mean, there's a fire in Monrovia. There was a fire in Murrieta. They're just popping up everywhere. I mean, some small that were easily contained and handled, but they're still popping up. I think now, I mean, this is way above my pay grade, but we're on an imminent need. Because we want to try to keep as many units as we can within the city if another creek fire happens. So obviously we have, like I said, I mean, you saw you heard how many units we had from out of state and even out of county coming to the creek fire. There's even more at the Thomas fire. I mean, and those guys are busting their ass day in and day out, trying to just save whatever. And my heart goes out to those guys. If I could right now, if the department would let me, I would go out there right now and be fighting that fire with them.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, like, big up to you, man, and all those other guys. Because, like I said, I mean, just as like I said, someone who's not in it and just like seeing it from the news, it's like it's easy to kind of just forget about the actual people involved, you know. Because you just think like, oh, they're doing their job, but they just say they, but then you forget it's just a collection of individuals, like you said. You guys, the firefighters, the other first responders, the community members, the families that are all affected, and it's like I said, it's good to hear, like I said, from someone firsthand how it all went down, you know, how things went, and it's just like I said, to hear how, like I said earlier, how horrible it can be. But also just how inspirational it all is. You know, like you said, it's always beautiful to hear when just like complete strangers coming together, you know, with one common goal. You know, I remember the fire, I can't remember, one of the teachers, that was like what's your definition of teamwork? It's just a group of people coming together with one common goal. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's it. Like, and it's even crazier when it's complete strangers, you know, like I said, guys from coming like as far as Colorado. You know, imagine how long that takes if you've ever done that drive and coming all the way down to fight the fire, you know. And, you know, like I said, I just want to thank you, Jordan, I want to thank all the other guys and all the other guys and girls and, and the firefighters out there and the first responders and everything for who are, help keep, all the people safe. Like I said, protecting life and property. All right, again, that was the first part of my conversation with my friend Jordan. So make sure you guys tune in later this week to hear the rest of our conversation where we pretty much just shoot the shit for about 30 minutes and, just catch up and stuff like that. Haven't seen him for a while. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. Again, like always, thank you for listening. Make sure you guys subscribe, follow, comment, all that good stuff. Subscribe on, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, again, on Stitcher now. Make sure you guys follow along on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I got the Facebook up and running again, that kind of stuff. So make sure you guys follow that. It's always Brown Mamba Radio, all that stuff. Look that up. Pretty much the only one that I know of. So like I said, as long as you look up Brown Mamba, you'll find me. And like always, all my content is always available on the new and improved brownmamba.us. Make sure you guys check that out. And for the last song, I'm going to play you guys out with a good one. The new song by Chromeo called Juice. It's a nice upbeat song to help you guys have a good week. And like I always say, don't just have a good week, make it a good week. And like I said, I hope this song helps you out a little bit. Again, this is Juice by Chromeo. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Relationships ain't a democracy. I'm good if you just stay on top of me. It ain't no mystery who's in control. You're sitting pretty, I'm replaceable. When we're out and having dinner, you get all your drinks for free. I can see who sent them over, it ain't compliments of me. I can hear them, they're talking, I stay in my own lane. I can't blame them, no, cause everybody knows that you got the juice. Yeah, yeah, that's why I keep pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. You got the juice, baby. That's why I keep pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. It's usually freezing when I act this way, but it's cuffing season in the month of May. They let you in, but I just stay in line. A consequence of being way too fine. When we're out and having dinner, you get all your drinks for free. I can see who sent them over, it ain't compliments of me. I can hear them, they're talking, I stay in my own lane. I can't blame them, no, cause everybody knows that you got the juice. Yeah, yeah, that's why I keep pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. You got the juice, baby. That's why I keep pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. I've been a handful, but now I got it right. I'd be a damn fool if I didn't recognize I got a keeper, so I should keep it tight. I got a main squeeze, so I better squeeze it right. I've been a handful, but now I got it right. I'd be a damn fool if I didn't recognize I got a keeper, so I should keep it tight. I got a main squeeze, so I better squeeze it right. You got the juice.
Pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. Pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya.
You got the juice. Yeah, yeah, that's why I keep pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. You got the juice, baby. That's why I keep pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya, pressing ya. I've been a handful, but now I got it right. I'd be a damn fool if I didn't recognize I got a keeper, so I should keep it tight. I got a main squeeze, so I better squeeze it right. I've been a handful, but now I got it right. I'd be a damn fool if I didn't recognize I got a keeper, so I should keep it tight. I got a main squeeze, so I better squeeze it right. You got the juice.